You open your refrigerator without thinking. Cold air spills across your face. A bottle of milk sits exactly where you left it. Leftover pizza from 2 nights ago is still perfectly edible. Fresh vegetables wait patiently in the crisper drawer. Frozen chicken can stay there for months, and ice cream survives the hottest day of summer without melting into a sticky puddle. Your food waits for you. It doesn't rot overnight. It doesn't attract flies within hours. It doesn't force you to eat everything the moment you find it. But for almost all of human history, there was no refrigerator, no freezer, no electricity, no plastic containers, no expiration dates. Your ancestors could spend an entire day hunting a massive animal, only to watch hundreds of kilograms of precious meat begin rotting before the next sunrise. They could gather enough berries for a week, then lose half of them to mold after one rainy afternoon. Every successful hunt came with a terrifying question: how do you stop food from dying before you do? So the question is simple. For hundreds of thousands of years, without refrigerators, freezers, or electricity, how did humans keep food from spoiling? The answer isn't just about storing food. It's about how humanity learned to steal time itself. Because every meal your ancestors saved was another day they didn't have to gamble their lives hunting. Here's what nobody tells you. Nature hates leftovers. The moment an animal dies, an invisible countdown begins. Bacteria that once lived harmlessly inside the body suddenly spread everywhere. Enzymes start breaking down muscle. Flies arrive within minutes. Maggots follow. Mold grows. The smell changes. The color changes. Within days, or sometimes just hours in hot climates, the meat becomes dangerous. Nature wants everything recycled, fast. For scavengers, insects, fungi, and bacteria, your dinner is their opportunity. Your ancestors weren't just competing against lions, they were racing against microscopic life. And microbes never slept. Modern microbiologists estimate that under warm conditions, harmful bacteria can double in number in as little as 20 minutes. Long before anyone knew what bacteria were, humans understood one simple truth. If food smells wrong, don't eat it. That lesson was written in countless tragedies. The obvious solution seems simple. Just hunt every day. Fresh meat, fresh fruit, fresh roots. Problem solved. Except hunting almost never worked that way. A successful hunt wasn't guaranteed. Sometimes your ancestors found nothing for days. Other times they killed far more than they could possibly eat. Imagine bringing down an elephant. One animal could provide several thousand kilograms of meat. That's incredible. It's also a nightmare. Even if 30 people ate until they couldn't move, mountains of meat would still remain. Leave it there. Hyenas would find it. Lions would smell it. Vultures would circle overhead. Rot would begin. The greatest hunting success could quickly become the greatest waste. So humans faced a strange problem. Success created urgency. Then someone discovered an accident that changed history. Fire didn't just cook food. It preserved it. Think about what happens when smoke rises from burning wood. It's warm. It's dry. It's filled with natural chemicals released from the wood itself. Those chemicals slow bacterial growth and discourage insects. Meanwhile, heat removes moisture from the meat. And here's the secret. Microbes need water. Take away enough moisture, and most of them can't multiply. Today, we call it smoking. Your ancestors simply noticed that meat hanging above the fire lasted much longer than meat lying beside it. No chemistry, no laboratories, just careful observation. Archaeological evidence from numerous prehistoric sites suggests that once controlled fire became widespread, perhaps as early as several 100,000 years ago with Homo erectus. Humans almost certainly began experimenting with drying and smoking food, even if the direct evidence rarely survives. Sometimes civilization begins with curiosity, but smoke wasn't enough. Sunlight became another teacher. Imagine strips of meat hanging across wooden poles under the hot African sun. Hour after hour, water slowly evaporates. The meat shrinks, hardens, darkens. It no longer tastes fresh, but it survives. Today, versions of this idea still exist. South African biltong, Native American jerky, Andean charqui, the very word that eventually gave English the word jerky. Different continents, same discovery. Remove the water, save the food. Here's an interesting part. Drying doesn't kill every bacterium. It simply makes life so difficult that most microbes stop growing. It's like trying to farm crops in the middle of a desert. Without water, nothing thrives. Fish created an even bigger challenge. Unlike red meat, fish spoils astonishingly fast, especially in warm weather. Communities living near rivers and coastlines couldn't afford to waste huge seasonal catches, so they learned to dry fish on racks exposed to wind and sunlight. In Northern Europe, cod became famous for this method. In Japan, dried seafood traditions stretch back centuries. Along the Pacific coast of North America, indigenous communities smoked enormous quantities of salmon every year, creating food reserves that lasted through harsh winters. The archaeological site of Ozette in Washington state preserves remarkable evidence of these sophisticated preservation techniques before European contact. Fish wasn't just dinner anymore, it became insurance. Then humans found something even more powerful: salt. Today it's cheap. You sprinkle it on fries without thinking. For your ancestors, salt was treasure. But why? It's because salt performs a kind of microscopic robbery. It pulls water out of bacterial cells through osmosis. The movement of water from where there's more of it to where there's less. No water. No thriving bacteria. No rapid spoilage. Ancient Egypt mastered salt preservation thousands of years ago. Around 2600 BCE, Egyptians packed fish and meat in salt, harvested from desert lakes and coastal marshes. The same mineral used to preserve food also helped preserve mummies. That's not a coincidence. Salt slowed decay, whether the goal was dinner or eternity. Of course, not everyone had salt. Some people had winter. Think about Northern Europe, or Siberia, or the Arctic. For months each year, nature became one giant freezer. The Inuit stored meat beneath snow and ice, where freezing temperatures dramatically slowed spoilage. In permafrost regions, naturally frozen ground acted like an underground refrigerator long before electricity existed. The food wasn't frozen because humans invented freezers. The landscape already had one. Sometimes survival means borrowing nature's technology. Guess what? Rot isn't always the enemy. Sometimes you invite it in. That sounds insane. Until you understand fermentation. Imagine leaving milk alone. Eventually it spoils. Usually that's bad. But under the right conditions, certain helpful bacteria arrive first. Instead of making the milk dangerous, they transform it into yogurt. The new bacteria produce acids that make it difficult for harmful microbes to grow. The food changes, but it survives much longer. The same thing happened with vegetables. Cabbage became sauerkraut. Soybeans became miso. Milk became cheese. Grapes became wine. Grain became beer. Fermentation sounds complicated. It's really controlled spoilage. Humans learned to recruit good microbes before the bad ones arrived. French scientist Louis Pasteur would explain the science in the 19th century. Your ancestors mastered the technique thousands of years earlier. Here's another surprise. Honey almost never spoils. Seriously. Archaeologists have discovered pots of honey inside Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old that remained remarkably well preserved. Would you want to eat it? Maybe not. But technically, it's still edible. Why? Honey contains very little water and naturally produces compounds that discourage microbial growth. Ancient civilizations understood this without knowing the chemistry. Honey became both food and preservative. Some cultures even stored fruits inside honey, dramatically extending their shelf life. Sweetness wasn't just luxury, it was storage technology. Then agriculture changed everything. Around 12,000 years ago, people stopped relying entirely on hunting. Now they harvested enormous amounts of grain. Unlike fresh meat, grains already contained very little moisture. Wheat, barley, rice, millet. Store them somewhere dry, and they could last for years. Suddenly the challenge shifted. Instead of preserving meat, humans had to protect grain from insects, rodents, and dampness. Across the ancient world, massive granaries appeared. At sites like Çatalhöyük in modern-day Turkey, dating back around 7,100 BCE, archaeologists discovered carefully designed storage spaces built directly into homes. Ancient Egyptians later built state granaries capable of feeding entire populations during years of poor harvest. Food storage became political power. Whoever controlled grain controlled kingdoms. However, storing food wasn't just about buildings. It was about temperature. Long before refrigerators, humans searched for naturally cool places: deep caves, underground pits, cellars, mountain springs. The deeper you go underground, the more stable the temperature becomes. Even today, caves often remain surprisingly cool during summer. Ancient Persians took this idea to another level. Around 400 BCE, they built astonishing structures called yakshals, massive mud brick domes connected to underground chambers. During cold winter nights, ice formed or was transported there. Thick insulated walls kept it frozen through scorching summers that regularly exceeded 40 degrees Celsius. Imagine eating chilled desserts in the Persian desert over 2,000 years ago, without electricity, without compressors, just brilliant engineering. Sometimes ancient technology feels almost impossible. Think about fruit. A ripe apple doesn't stay ripe for long, unless you remove the water. Figs, dates, apricots, grapes. Across the Mediterranean and Middle East, people spread fruit beneath the sun until it shriveled into concentrated sweetness. Raisins became tiny packets of stored sunlight. Dried dates fueled caravans crossing the Sahara. Roman soldiers carried dried figs during long military campaigns. Fresh fruit fed today. Dried fruit fed tomorrow. And sometimes, tomorrow meant months away. Think carefully. Your ancestors weren't trying to keep food tasting fresh. They were trying to keep themselves alive. Modern preservation often focuses on convenience. Ancient preservation focused on survival. Smoked meat tasted different. Salted fish tasted different. Fermented vegetables tasted different. Nothing tasted exactly like fresh food. That wasn't the goal. The goal was seeing spring. Imagine the middle of winter. No berries, no fresh vegetables, no successful hunt for days. Then someone opens a storage pit. Inside are dried mushrooms collected months ago, smoked venison from autumn, fermented cabbage, grain harvested before the snow arrived. Those strange flavors suddenly become the taste of survival. Then something unexpected happened. Preserved food changed human civilization itself. Think about explorers crossing oceans, armies marching for months, merchants traveling deserts. None of that works if food spoils after 2 days. The Roman legions depended on preserved grain, dried fruit, salted pork, and hard cheese. Viking sailors packed dried cod that remained edible across long sea voyages. Mongol horsemen carried dried curds and preserved meat across the vast Eurasian steppe. The age of exploration wasn't powered only by ships. It was powered by food that refused to rot. Every empire rode on preserved calories. And yet, your kitchen still carries echoes of those ancient discoveries. You buy smoked salmon, beef jerky, pickles, yogurt, cheese, raisins, sun-dried tomatoes, cured ham, salted butter, jam, wine. All of them are ancient solutions hiding in modern packaging. Even your refrigerator isn't replacing those ideas. It's simply slowing the same invisible battle against bacteria that your ancestors fought around campfires hundreds of thousands of years ago. The enemy never changed. Only the tools did. Think about everything your ancestors were up against. Summer heat attacked every fresh meal. They answered with smoke and sun. Invisible bacteria spread through every successful hunt. They answered with salt, drying, and fire. Winter threatened starvation. They answered with underground storage and carefully guarded grain. Nature tried to reclaim every bite of food. They learned to recruit helpful microbes through fermentation instead. None of these discoveries happened overnight. Each one was earned through observation, failure, and countless generations asking the same desperate question. How do we make this meal last one more day? Because one more day meant another sunrise, another hunt, another harvest, another chance. The next time you hear your refrigerator hum quietly in the corner of your kitchen, remember what it's really doing. Inside that white box lives thousands of years of human ingenuity, not replacing the wisdom of your ancestors, continuing it. Because long before electricity, compressors, or freezer drawers, humanity had already figured out the greatest secret of survival. Food doesn't have to stay fresh forever. It just has to last until tomorrow.